Welcome to another episode of the Into the Weeds podcast. As always, I'm your host Grant, and on this episode, I'm joined by guest GraceAnn and Zach. In this podcast, we discuss problems with Walmart and the importance of board games. As always, I hope you enjoy. Hit the record button. That's important.
Solid.
So today's guest.
I am not gonna be able to take this serious.
I had to think for a sec. So today's guest, I'm joined by Zach Connor, my best friend, and I'm also joined by GraceAnn, my sister. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just had a fantastic dinner cooked by me. I don't know is that selfish to say that it was really good.
Absolutely not. It was delicious.
Yeah, some shrimp scampi. But I want you to know I went through an epic struggle in order to cook that meal because I had to go to Walmart.
Oh, gosh.
Tell us about this adventure.
Well, it's nothing about Walmart in and of itself. It's more the experience because Walmart is just so huge that I don't know where anything is. So take the shrimp scampi that we cooked tonight. I was like, okay, I know where the shrimp is. I know where the butter is. I know where the garlic is, parsley, all that. You know, they're in their sections. But then it's like, you need to get chicken broth. And there's no broth aisle in Walmart. So I've got to, I looked in like the beans section. I was taking up.
Why would you go to the beans section?
Because I don't know. I don't know where it is. I don't think like how Walmart thinks where it's like, oh yeah. I mean, and where it ended up being was in the canned goods section.
Yeah.
It's boxed. It's not canned. So why would it be in the canned goods section?
But it's genuinely kind of like the same thing if you think about it.
But they don't put boxed water in there.
That's a good point.
That is a good point. But, you know, I did work at Food Line for a little bit. So it was like you just kind of had a grasp of chicken broth is kind of like a soup, you know?
But it wasn't even in the soup section. Like the canned goods was different. There was another aisle that was a soup aisle.
At Walmart?
Yeah, at Walmart.
Oh, then I have no idea.
Yeah,
I can't talk to you
Those
about
were
that.
two entirely
I hate
different
Walmart
aisles.
and avoid it at all cost. I probably haven't been inside of a Walmart in like years.
Why?
Legitimately.
Yeah.
I just think the cleanliness and like you were saying also like the type of like vast majority of stuff that's in there. It's just like never really organized in a certain way. And also I like to eat really healthy, like more organic and things like that. And so I prefer to go to somewhere like Trader Joe's or you know, a bougie place that will have the items that I need.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I wish we had a Trader Joe's here.
What's probably is Publix probably the closest, like, for
I like
high quality
Publix.
organic?
Yeah, Publix has good high quality things, and then they're also very clean, and their employees are always very kind, and they're not a department store like Walmart. They're just a grocery store that might have a couple, like, you know, outside plants or things like that. So I think they're able to serve somebody better. There's like that old marketing term that says if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one.
Yeah.
And I really think that Walmart is that, which like they have a wide net and they get a lot of people, but with that you can go to you can go to Walmart at, you know, 10 a.m. on a Sunday and see somebody walking around in their slippers and pajamas with, you know, a bag of bread. So it's just like, you know, what kind of people are you wanting to speak to, you know?
Yeah.
And again, when you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one, so.
That situation you described has been me.
A bag of bread?
Yeah.
In PJs.
In pajamas. And actually, no slippers. I was barefoot.
At a Walmart.
At a Walmart?
Oh, yeah.
You're one of those people?
Gross.
Look, it was a moment of
Disowned.
weakness. Everyone... So... It was at the Bridger program that I did.
Okay.
And so we had a Walmart there in town, and everyone was like, hey, let's go so we can pick up these supplies. And I was like, oh, okay, y'all go on without me. And they were like, no, like, you need to come. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not changing or getting dressed or anything. And they were like, yeah. And so I hopped in and just completely barefoot in my pajamas, and we went and like picked up some stuff to make French toast because we were bored. No.
See, and that's unclean to walk through a grocery store with no shoes.
Dude, you could have got like
they clean
athlete's foot.
That's disgusting.
Who cleans the floors?
That Walmart. I mean, they clean the floors.
Yeah, still gross.
I'm not trying to eat off of the Walmart floor. Like, I know they're bad, but...
Did you at least wash your feet?
Yeah, I mean, in the shower. Yeah. I do every day.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and I think at that time I was doing the night showers. I've switched over to day showers.
Day showers are the best showers.
It just kind of helps wake you up.
It does. Right in the morning, turn it on cold, and just, boom, wake up.
I have heard that showering too much is like a bad thing, especially for your hair.
That's true.
And so I do get kind of self-conscious when, especially like after I work out, I'll shower and then it's like, oh, I showered this morning. And so like I double shower, but it's not like I'm not going to shower after I
See, so then why didn't you just wait to shower till after your jog? Like if you knew you were going to jog, then just wait to shower till after.
But
and
also,
that's been the struggle. That's been the struggle for me right now.
Also, it's like, I hate going to the gym or working out without a shower.
Really?
I hate it.
That's so weird.
It is. It is weird. But to like compensate for that, I went for just running the water. Just like running the water in the shower and then feeling refreshed, go work out, and then take a shower. And I feel like that could be the move right there.
That's so interesting. Like for me, like when I was feeling better, non-pregnant, and I'm pregnant for everyone who's listening, when I was feeling better, I would like schedule my showers, like my long showers where I would like really wash my hair and stuff for when I was working out. So like if I knew I was doing Pilates on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday that week, then I would do my long showers those days after I went and did the workout. And I always work out in the morning when I work out. If I don't work out in the morning, I probably am not going to work out because I prefer the endorphins like right in the morning, waking me up, like getting my circadian rhythm going, like all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can't work out in the morning. There's just no way. I'll never get any kind of sleep because, I mean, I live so far away from where I work now, and so I'm already waking up at like 5 a.m. just to shower and go to work.
Yeah. You got to find what works for you too.
Yeah. I wish I could wake up and work out. I mean, you could do some push-ups like the Batman movie. He just gets out of bed and just pumps out the push-ups. I might just have to get on that grind one day.
There you go.
And you've also got to think, like, especially for the armor that he's wearing that's bulletproof, like, I mean, just walking around is a workout because that's easily like
that's true.
40 to 60 pounds of armor that he's wearing.
But I will have to say what does suck is I get out of work, I go work out, and I'm just awake like crazy for the rest of the night, and then I don't go to sleep until like 11 or so.
See, and that might be your problem too. So
that
like,
could be.
So like your circadian rhythm is like your internal clock of what needs to happen. So like things that help, and like us in our Americanized society, like people are like, what's a circadian rhythm? Because like one of the things that was the most...
Is that some Eastern mythology?
No. One of the things that was most detrimental to that was actually the invention of the light bulb, because then we prolonged our days versus circadian rhythm is where you literally, you know, start winding down when it gets dark at night. You know, wake up with the sun, like things like that. And so things that my husband and I have started to instill is like when it's starting to get dark out, we to start turning off lights in the house. So like,
oh yeah,
he'll have, even if it's like 7 o'clock or whenever, we'll start, dimming lights, and we'll only have like one of the kitchen lights on or something like that. A girl that I follow only does candlelight at that time of night. And so it's just something that really happens naturally. And then when you wake up in the morning, you wake up with the sunlight. So we've really enjoyed that. And then getting outside before 10 a.m. too, to get that vitamin D. It really helps your circadian rhythm be like, okay, I'm up, I'm starting the day. And like, I don't drink coffee or anything like that. Even before I was pregnant, I didn't.
no
And
caffeine.
so, no caffeine, no power drinks, no matcha, no sodas. If anything, I'll drink like a chai tea, but that has like very limited caffeine. But anyway, but that helps. It's just like your body's natural circadian rhythm.
I like it. And another big thing is like with phones.
Yes.
That is the worst thing you could ever do. Because a lot of people, including myself, I mean, I'm sitting in my room, phone plugged up to the charger. It's probably 9:30 p.m. and I'm just sitting there watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And all that light is just going in my eyes, making my brain, oh, it's still daylight outside. And that messes with it.
Exactly. That's why, like, it's really good for you to turn on the night mode if you're on your phone at night.
Oh, yeah, that's always on.
But also, I really try to put my phone up an hour before bedtime. That's what they suggest, is at least plugging up an hour before bedtime. So that way it already starts telling your mind, like, you're winding down for the night. Like,
yeah, they have that cool feature, the wind down feature.
Yes, and it's okay to, like, read and do things like that, but you don't want to read a book like a mystery or something that would get your brain going.
Yeah.
You really want, like, a chill book that you're enjoying to tell your brain it's time to go to sleep.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But it still blows my mind because Grant over here, I don't remember the last time he's had caffeine. And now I know you don't have caffeine.
So,
but I mean, you might have gotten back on the coffee kick, but I'm an accountant. And so if you're an accountant, everyone knows your caffeine level intake is just insane when you're an accountant. It's wild.
Well, I used to be a teacher, and teachers are notorious for, like,
for caffeine?
Teacher and coffee.
Oh, that's true, too?
Like, is very well known.
That's hilarious.
And I was a teacher and did not drink coffee.
Caffeine?
Yeah,
Wow.
didn't drink coffee. I mean, like I said, I would probably start the day with, like, a tea of some kind, whether it be chai or, like, like a peppermint or something like that. But that has very low amount of caffeine. So even that was, like, not much.
Did it even wake you up? Like, get you going?
I think it was more like in the brain, me thinking, okay, I've had this routine down, so I know when I make this tea and I do this in my routine that it's part of me waking up.
I wonder if I do that with caffeine now.
Yeah.
I drink a caffeine beverage and it's just like, it's time to go now.
But try switching to decaf and see if your body still has the same reaction.
I don't drink coffee. I drink energy drinks.
Oh, okay.
It's very bad for me.
Yeah, that is very bad for you. My gosh. Grant, anything to add? I feel like we've been talking over you.
No, y'all aren't talking over me at all. I was just going to say, I mean, the reason why I stopped drinking coffee is because, so when I first started drinking coffee, it was literally just a creamer to mouth, like...
Yes.
I would drink coffee for the creamer. And specifically, I don't know if you remember this, but it was
Almond Joy creamer,
Almond Joy creamer. That was it.
Yes.
And it got to the point, though, where I think...
it was more sugar.
I don't know exactly... Well, it was a lot of sugar. But because I kept drinking the coffee with the creamer in it, I became addicted to the caffeine.
Yeah.
And, I mean, not a serious addiction in any way, but when I went out to the program, and I was at the higher elevation in Colorado, and I stopped drinking coffee, I got, like, terrible withdrawal headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
worst.
I was like, I can't keep doing this. And so that's what made me go, break.
Yeah.
And it had definitely gotten to the point where, like... I would drink coffee and it had like little to no effect because my body had just gotten used to caffeine being a part of my regular routine. And so now, at this point, I will drink a coffee either A, socially, or B, like to actually help me wake up. Like if I've, stayed up till 3 a.m., like knocking out a paper, then the next day I'll have a cup of coffee because I need to be awake and alert.
So
Not
you
the
still
5
drink
hour.
some of it. See,
Yeah.
I don't.
But not
just
like
annoying.
every day. If I had to say, I mean, maybe once every 2 weeks, and that might be too much.
See,
But
I
maybe
don't.
once every 2
I don't
weeks.
even drink it at all. Like since, so I stopped caffeine because the Lord told me to fast it. So every New Year, my church in Texas has us be praying as we lead up to the New Year about something to fast for the first 40 days of the New Year. And so I had been praying, and this was like almost 4 years ago. I was really praying about like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to fast? And I heard the Lord told me coffee, and I'm like, psh, okay. Like some people, He's telling like hard food, so like coffee, I can do this, right? And the Lord was just telling me like I needed to depend on Him to like get me through the day versus caffeine. And I was like, okay, Lord, like this is great. I went through such bad withdrawals. Like, I remember the days dragging and literally having to be like, Lord, I'm literally needing you to get through this day because, and it was so funny. Like, I wasn't a mom yet at the time or anything like that. I was just a student and, was dragging. But I have had caffeine, so accidentally after that moment, like almost 4 years ago, I ordered on the Starbucks app what I used to get, which was a chai tea with 2 shots of espresso in it.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, and that was if I was getting a chai. If I was doing like a normal drink, it'd be like a coffee drink,
Mm-hmm.
And so I accidentally did it, and I remember drinking it one day and being like, this tastes weird, but like it was kind of familiar, so I was like, okay. And literally my heart rate was so fast, like it scared me. Like I was like, I cannot drink coffee after this. So I don't have the occasional cup of coffee or this or that. I just choose not to because of the type of like way that it makes me feel. And like caffeine can be good in small amounts. Like I know there's a woman that I follow that does like a coffee in the morning and that's it. But it's because it's the moderation thing and not having our bodies get used to it. So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how it should be. I remember just a quick story. There was, I don't know if we were all, no, we weren't. We definitely weren't all dealing with caffeine addiction. But, I mean, when at the program, Bridger program, started, like, cutting off coffee, other people were like, oh, that's kind of cool, I could, and a few people were like, oh, I could never do that and stuff, but it literally got to the point where there was, one of the girls had caffeine pills.
Yeah.
And she would take caffeine pills because
Yes.
she'd started with coffee, and literally in order just to, like, be awake through the day and be motivated, she would take caffeine pills, and I mean like high doses, and it's one of those weird things where we're all kind of joking like, haha, you shouldn't do that, but it's like, no, like, you really should not be taking caffeine pills at that high of a dosage.
Yes. But that's the
Wow.
thing, right? Is that like our society, and I think this isn't just in America, obviously, but it is very much so the American culture of like hustle, do whatever you can to like stay up and work and, do all these things, achieve. And that's one of those shortcuts that we've taken is pills like that, like the caffeine pills, or like, have y'all seen the chocolate covered espresso beans?
Mm-mm.
They're like these
I've heard
espresso,
of
like
them.
literal espresso beans with chocolate. So like 4 of them and you'll be wired. Like they literally sell them in small packages because of how potent they are. So yeah, it's just like our culture has just put such a big shift on like you have to achieve, and so we found those shortcuts like 5-hour energy or espresso or the Monster energy drinks or whatever you choose as your vice for staying awake longer than what our body really needs,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Part of the achieving And I don't know exactly how this relates, but I feel like part of that drive has been a reliance on the American credit system and like having a high credit. And I know, look, and
so like just working very hard.
Yeah. In order, so you work hard so that way you can pay off, so that way you can have a high credit and you can get nicer stuff. I mean, it's like a meme nowadays about like, you know, you walk into the car dealership and you've got a credit over 700, you know,
50.
Or over 700.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey man, we just ordered KFC. Like, you want some?
Oh.
Or you want a free bicycle as well? Just like having high credit is like what you need to have.
And it's hilarious because a lot of people don't understand that credit score really don't matter. A lot of the times it does not matter, because I'll just say this. I have a very high credit score. And my dad still had to co-sign with me.
Yeah.
When I got this truck.
Yeah. Because
it doesn't matter, because the bank sees that I have not taken out that big of a loan.
Exactly.
And it's crazy. It's crazy how that works.
That was one thing when I got married that I didn't really understand, because I had like low credit, but I was like, why do I have a low credit score? Like my dad taught both Grant and I and our younger brother about the value of money, and we had cards that we would always pay off every month. And so to build our credit, and I was like, why is my credit score so low? And then I remember my husband, and we were actually in a financial course that our church provided, which I love. But they were explaining to me, they were like, well, you've never actually taken out, like, you've never had debt, so they don't know how you are paying back debt. And I'm like, but I've paid off the card, so they know I'm good to pay off things.
But normally that card is like $1,000 or $2,000.
So isn't it so interesting that, like, you literally have to go into debt first to then show them that you can have a good credit score to pay off debt? It's so interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely twisted in the way. Now, there's great people like, you know, Dave Ramsey. There's this girl I follow on Instagram, her first 100K, who teaches specifically women about financing and things. She's kind of rivals with Dave Ramsey, but they both have great resources. But anyway,
podcasts.
Yeah, and they have a good podcast. But it's just interesting when you think about the credit system. Like, I just remember being so angry and being like, but I don't have, like, that should be good. Like, I should have a really high score. So, yeah, it's funny.
And there's a lot of different and cool ways that you can manipulate the credit system to get a very high score. And that's how I did it.
Yeah.
Is I manipulated the credit system to get a very high credit score. Did it matter? Not one bit.
Right.
Because I thought I was going to go into that dealership when I got the truck, and I was like, Dad don't have to co-sign, I'm about to rock this thing out. And they literally turned me down so quick.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It's so interesting. Versus if you went in there, 10 years older and had that same credit score, but had a history, like the credit history of like, oh, you had this loan, paid it off. You had this loan, paid it off. And it's like, but aren't we supposed to be in a point in our society where, like, don't we want, which I'm saying we as the working class, shouldn't we want people to be able to afford things without having to have the loans,
Yeah.
So it's like, why is that such a big deal? But I know, Grant, you can speak more to this, like being in places like Washington, D.C. and things like that where more upper class people are, that it's like, it's just so interesting because the system really is meant to fail, in that type of way. But you could speak to that more, Grant.
Well, not necessarily even that, but I remember, because I'm a big follower of Dave Ramsey, and so, I don't know if I even have a credit score right now. I don't think I do, but I don't even know if it's possible, going to what you're talking about with, letting people buy stuff without having to have a credit history, if it's possible to actually live without a credit score today. That's something that's definitely weighing on me, because I remember like
we had friends, not an argument, but it was like
a tilted conversation.
Yes, those friends that were over that one day. I remember that conversation, and I'll never forget it.
Oh, I was thinking about, we have a mutual friend that got married a few years back, and him and his wife tried to buy a house without credit. But, like, they both had jobs, and so they got a manual mortgage or something like that, where basically they don't look at your credit, they look at your job and how much it pays and different stuff like that.
But then the issue is that the loan is set up in a different way where you'd have a higher interest rate than if you had something like a great credit score. So then it ends up being worse for you in the long run.
Sure, they just got turned down. They were told they couldn't even get a mortgage.
Because that's how they do it now, is like they look at your job, how much your annual income is, then your credit score, and that's how they're like, okay, this is how we're justifying giving you this money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I have $100K right here. Let's put this on a house payment. They'll probably still like, another $100K? I don't think you can pay that. That's what's so crazy about this system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too because, our mom is a real estate agent and our dad deals with real estate stuff all the time in his business as well. And, even with my mom, there was a client that was not hers, but somebody else that we knew that had bought a house, and they were young married and didn't put any money down on the house. But they got a great loan, and they had, that they don't even have jobs. The people that got it don't even have jobs that would allow them to pay like a big portion of it. Like Dave Ramsey's like, if you don't have 20% down, then you shouldn't be doing the house.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting though, because they had good credit, and that's the thing that qualified them for like zero down, getting it in. And they did. They got the house, and it's like, that's great. But then you got to think about, okay, well, what was the interest rate on that? And then if you didn't put any money down, then you're going to be paying on that for a while. So there's just a lot of different things that you got to think about. And I think one of the gaps in Dave Ramsey and his thinking is credit. Like, I really think that that's a huge gap in his, foundation of what he teaches. Yeah. Because you really do. You have to leverage credit. Like you were talking about, Zach. Like, you can have a great credit score and it not matter at times, but also we live in a society where you have to have some credit. So, you can either leverage it for your good or you cannot, but you have to be taught how to do those things.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Like, you can't be irresponsible with a credit card whatsoever. That's just one of those things. And then also back to that Dave Ramsey thing, it's like, I love what he teaches. I love it. I listen to his podcast every single day. But you've got to think, when he started this, his plan hasn't changed much since when he has started this. And that's what stinks, is like, when he started that was perfect. That was a great foundation, great plan. Go the baby steps millionaire. Absolutely. But it's just like, this world is just turning.
Yes.
So many different ways, left, right, up, down. It doesn't matter. It's just like, you got to grow with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do.
Absolutely. And I think at the same time, too, with Dave Ramsey, I think he is really great. And me and my husband have talked about this a lot. But I think Dave Ramsey is really great for people who are, like, in the middle of debt, have no idea what to do, and they need to get, like, okay, we got to go through baby steps. We got to, like, legitimately, be on a hardcore budget, do the cash envelope system, do the, snowball debts of, like, paying that off. But then when it gets to people, like, where you have paid off all your debts and you're at a good spot, then it's like you're kind of stuck. Because then he talks about, okay, saving for a certain thing or doing that. And it's like, that's great, but where's the investing then going? Yeah. What about, he wouldn't tell you to then invest in a rental property because you can't afford that. Well, what if that rental property is going to be paid off in 5 years and then you get dividends from that for years to come? He would tell you not to do it. So
you ain't got 20%.
Exactly. So there's just different things, that are, I feel like, a gap in what he has to offer. But again, I don't think he's speaking to, that those types of people. I think he's speaking to people who don't really understand the credit and all that and don't need that information just yet.
And he honestly does not need a credit score. That man is a millionaire.
No.
It does not matter.
But he has talked about times when, even with like renting a car, when he's like, I could, I'm not going to name the business, but I could literally buy this car rental company. And yet when I went to try and rent a car, they were like, well, Mr. Ramsey, you don't have a credit score, so we can't rent you anything. It's like,
I will buy your business. Give me the car.
Yeah.
He's talked about that before buying appliances. He went to an appliance area, had cash in his hand, and it's a story he tells. This was a couple of years ago. Maybe it was a while ago. But anyway, tells about how they were like, oh, well, we got to check, credit and all that stuff. And he's like, I have literally the cash in my hand right now to buy the whole thing. And yeah, they want the interest, but it's just funny how it's like, yes, but at the same time, some places literally will not. I mean, think about renting an apartment right now. There's so many, or a townhouse or a home or whatever. Mm-hmm. You have to have a good credit score.
Yeah.
And there's far and few between places that don't check credit, and those that don't are income-based. So there again, you have to have a good job that's steady, and, you use your money wisely in order to qualify for those things.
Yep.
Well, that was even going through the real estate class. There's a section where they're talking about, like, if you're a real estate agent that helps people look for rental properties.
Yes.
Like a lot of rental properties in their decision making will look at a person's credit, and someone who like qualifies in every single other way, but yet has a better credit score, or someone else has a better credit score than them, like the person with the better credit score is going to get more chances of getting that apartment.
Exactly. Well, and we have really good friends back in Texas that they actually, so they lease a house. They lease 2 houses in the Fort Worth area. So they don't own them, but they got permission. It's the same landlord at both of the homes. And they got permission for it to be an Airbnb. And so what they do is they Airbnb it out. And they were the ones who, they did like all the furniture off of like Facebook Marketplace and IKEA. And it's very vibey though. Like you would not think that it was. They said like the biggest investment you want to make is like in the mattress. So like they did that and good Wi-Fi basically. Yeah. So anyway, they did that, but they're making money. Like they're paying their monthly amount for them to lease it from their landlord. And at the same time, they're making money because if anything goes wrong with Airbnb, because they're leasing the home,
they've got to cover
So it's like...
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Leasing a property and then pretty much leasing it out for a night.
Exactly.
Subleasing.
Yeah, so it's basically cool. Like subleasing, which again, you have to, your landlord has to be the one to do it. But with this guy in particular, he's like, I don't care. I mean, he's getting the money either way.
Exactly.
And they're the ones that are upkeeping it. And so there were certain things like the washer and dryer just broke in one of them. So they're paying to have the washer and dryer fixed, like not the actual guy, because their tenants have been, like their Airbnb guests have been the ones using it. So they're paying to do it. So there's things like that. But on the other end, like they're making money every single month. They're paying their thing and getting that. So then what they're doing with that money is they're saving to actually buy a property of their own to then use for Airbnb. So you're like, that's genius. But Dave Ramsey would be like, that's dumb. Like, that is dumb. It's like, well.
Yeah.
That kind of does, though.
Yeah. Well, Grant, I don't want to be the host, but I know you have some topics. You want to get into those?
Well, we've covered quite a few of them.
Oh,
actually,
nice.
Yeah, we actually have.
Look at that, just talking away.
That's it. So Zach, you... Oh, goodness. That is a Wookiee. So you're over here today, so that way we can play a board game.
Absolutely. My favorite board game, known to man. I'd like to say it's Grant's as well.
Yeah.
But I've never been more excited since last winter break.
Axis and Allies. We're going to play.
It's just one of those games that you just have to play. You have to play. But it takes so long.
It does.
And especially with no boasting whatsoever, but two brilliant minds, it takes 10 times longer than a normal board game would ever take. And it's just the strategy behind it, the grit behind the board game. Whoever, I know who developed it, but they are also just absolute geniuses.
Yeah.
And it just makes me happy every time I see the board. Like, I walked in, I just got back from working out. I called Grant, and I was like, hey, can I come in? And also, I had to fix the board before we get into this.
Oh, there was something wrong?
No, but I walk in, I have to go use the restroom, and it's pitch black, dark in the basement.
Oh.
I walk in the room, and I know my way around the house, and so I'm just doing my normal route, and my hip just absolutely bangs the table, and I was like, he set up the Axis and Allies board. And so I turned my flashlight on, pieces all over. Luckily, we remember how we played it way too many times that we almost know how many pieces go where. Yeah. And so I set it all back up, but gosh, I'm so excited to play it. That's just one game that you just can't pass.
Well, and that's it. I mean, looking at, like, when you're developing friendships with people, no matter where you're living, I feel like board games are a go-to of, like, hey, let's get some people together and play a board game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we even used to, get a few friends and crammed into the top of his apartment with the board set up, and... Oh, that was wild. I forgot how far into that game we got, but it was very fun. I mean,
they shook hands and gave up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surrendered.
I think it's just the beauty of board games that, like, reminds me of it nowadays is it's getting people off of their phones and doing something
productive.
Yeah.
So, like, I think about, and Grant, you can back me up on this, we used to have family nights on Sunday night, and my parents would say, all phones away, and we would usually, my parents would talk about a scripture for the month, or for the week, and, like, what we're praying about, or we would pray over if, like, one of us, our birthdays were soon, but then we would always do something as a family, like watch a movie or play a board game. And some of those times I remember when I was in my teens being like, ugh, I have to go down to family time. And now I look back, and those are some of my favorite memories, sitting in our living room and getting to play board games.
There's just something about, like you said, which was kind of funny because I now think of this all the time. I mean, I'm only 23. I'm not, like, old. But it's, like, thinking...
Not like 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to any 30-year-olds such as my husband listening.
Yeah. But anyways, it just kind of makes me feel bad because as a teenager or when I'm growing up, I'm like, I've got to go to this family event, like, and I'm missing out with my friends or something like that. But now it's just like, I kind of wish I had those moments again.
Yeah.
Like, I want those memories again where we're sitting down and just enjoying each other. But we get older, and it just, that's life.
But I think that's what makes it so great about, like, y'all's friendship with Axis and Allies is that you still have that, and you still have that game. Mm-hmm. So when you go back to it, it's always that connection for y'all.
Exactly.
And that builds relationship. And I think for us, like, during COVID, like, when it first started the lockdown, my husband and I came up here because we didn't want to be in our small bedroom apartment alone. We were like, well, we'll just quarantine with the rest of my family, so at least we have a house and stuff to do. Mm-hmm. So we came up here, and, like, that was some of my favorite memories ever. Like, we were with each other more than ever, But, like, we played Star Wars Monopoly or Star Wars something. It was Star Wars Clue.
Yeah.
We played Wanu. We played, like a pie game where, like, it would put whipped cream in your face.
Yeah,
like,
that one's funny.
So many different
Mario
things.
Party.
Mario Party, yeah. Like, so many different things that, like, we normally didn't. And I think that's the beauty from the tragedy was, like, it reminded people of the importance of the togetherness. And I think, like, the Axis and Allies does that for you guys, is it reminds you of that togetherness of your friendship.
Yeah. And it will always be a game where maybe Grant's in town sometime, because I know I'm sure he wants to move away, which is fair. But it's like, it's one of those games we can put on any table. No, let me go back from that. Any dining room table.
There you go.
Any dining room table, and just hang out for, a day or two, and just enjoy company, get away from the world, and just play a game.
Yeah.
And that's just what makes it amazing.
Love it. Well, we've talked about Walmart, and now we finished up at Axis and Allies and how games bring people together.
It all comes full circle.
It all comes full circle. What a podcast.
Because you can pick up Axis and Allies
at Walmart.
I don't know what aisle it's in. It could be in the canned goods section. But
hey, just download the Walmart app. It'll get you there.
I
will say this. I'm a big Lego person.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to the Legos. Whenever you find the Legos, go the next row over. You'll find the board games.
Okay.
Hot take. Good to know.
That's my Barstool hot take.
Indeed. Well, hey, thank y'all for coming on. It's been a pleasure hosting y'all. Good to talk, and appreciate y'all being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Into the Weeds podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and you'll come back for the next one. As always, thank you for listening.